So I want to hear about the time where there was you and Adrian Dunbar, and you ended up chucking milk bottles at policemen.
I know, disgraceful behaviour. Well, every Sunday night, me, Dunbar, Neil Morrissey and Brian Thomas used to, will be unfamiliar to you, but he didn't make it as an actor, but the four of us used to meet in the Lamb and Flag in Covent Garden, which was a rather posh but nice small old historic bar, and we used to play darts. One night we were in there and we got fairly pissed, and we were coming on the back towards St Martin's Lane, if you like, and we were singing. The four of us used to sing, the Wild Mountain Time, as I recall, at the top of our voice, all perfect harmonies and all the rest of it. But we were fairly we were. Anyway, there were two young coppers who stopped us and decided that we should behave ourselves, which Eddie and I took particular exception to, and started banging on about, they were cowboy police force, we had real police back in Northern Ireland and all this sort of carry on, which they didn't take very kindly to. So there was a lot of pushing and shoving, and then Eddie and I discovered, oh look, there's some, we ran, and then we found some milk bottles being put out for the following delivery. So I'm afraid to say we picked them up and started throwing them at them, and they called for assistance, and we were bundled into the van, and quite deservedly so, I hasten to add. I don't advise any young people to be throwing milk bottles, and we ought to know better coming from where we did. Anyway, so we got locked up until some god-awful hour in the morning. We got locked up in Bow Street, and then of course they let you out when there's the in the golden hour, when there are no buses, no night buses, and the tubes haven't started and they've finished and all the rest of it. So we got home, got changed, and then we had to appear in Bow Street Court, which we did. We were charged with drunken disorderly behaviour, I think, and perhaps something else. We're found guilty, and we're fined the bizarre sum of 19 quid. Don't ask me why it wasn't 20 or 15, but it was 19 quid. Still got the receipt. And Dunbar didn't have any dosh on him, which is all changed now, of course. He's the one with the dosh. So I wrote a cheque for 19 quid and we went home. That was it.
I didn't ask this before, but have you watched him in Line of Duty?
Yes.
What do you watch?
Well, he's a brilliant actor. We always knew he was, but he's created, from the first series when Morrissey was in there with a walking stick, although his character disappeared, Eddie had a small character, which now, the whole Jed now revolves the whole series around Mr. Ted Hastings, which is a funny time, because I was saying at drama school, Eddie and Neil and I used to get into terrible scrapes at other drama schools. Every time there was a freshers disco, every year there was a new input of students, we used to work our way around all this lot and just cause trouble, and there was fights and all sorts of stuff. And we'll never forget, as I said in the book, Neil and I racing down the stairs at Arts Educational Drama School, chasing their firm, so to speak, who were running from us. And the next thing we were aware was that Dunbar was flying above us, landing on the four guys down below. He jumped from the top of the balcony. So you imagine, we looked up, and all you could see now, when I look back on it, is Ted Hastings flying through the air and delivering a crushing fall on these four guys, who we then proceeded to interview, shall we say.
Are you still boys behaving badly, or have you grown up?
No, we're very well behaved. Although, I mean, it has to be said, Adrian didn't take a drink for about 22, 23 years, and he's back now having a glass of wine. So, but we're very well behaved now. We're upstairs with white linen tablecloths and fine wine and fine food. We don't really run about anymore. But he's 67, I'm 65, and Neil's 61, I think. I was at the Royal Shakespeare Company, so I was up in Stratford-upon-Avon, just coming down at the weekends. So anyway, I put the money up because it was working for, we got the lease of this place, a railway arch in Suffolk Street in Elephant and Castle in Southwark. was a massive big thing, about 100 yards long. So we got in, we cleaned it all out. It was pretty damn pristine. There was a kind of a purpose-built stage at one end where locomotives obviously were placed, or carriages or what have you. So that's where the bands were going to be. We built a bar, and we painted the whole thing, the dome, the walls, the floor, all pristine white. We'd go out and buy sort of thousands of tins of Carlsberg or something, or Harp or whatever the cheapest was, and that was it. And we'd open the doors at midnight and party till 7 in the morning with various DJs and what have you, and we even had a couple of live bands in there, and it attracted all sorts of people from all over the place, and the doorman would let us know who was in or who wasn't, and Simon Le Bon was in there. And then one night apparently we were in there, and Sarah Ferguson had arrived, gone in, but she didn't like it very much because it was a bit wild. But it was a den of iniquity, and there were narcotics of all sorts were indulged and all the rest of it. And eventually the police had got word of this, because Ben Elton, esteemed writer and a broadcaster nowadays, Ben used to have a show called South of Watford, which was a kind of a trendy evening programme about what the up and coming things were in London or south of Watford. And word had got out about the substation, which is what we called it, and word had got out about the substation because it was becoming very popular, and he did a piece on it. And so, of course, the next thing was that the police arrived, and we were busted, and the rest is history, shall we say. So that was the end of the substation.